I can hear you even now in this very moment, in the silence that surrounds you while everything inside you trembles, with a question you have not dared to speak aloud. Listen to me, because this is the last warning you will receive before the veil is lifted from your eyes. There is a person close to you, someone you trust, someone whose face you know better than your own reflection, and that person carries a secret that has been shaping your life from the shadows. You feel it, do you not? That strange weight in your chest when their name is mentioned. That sudden coldness when they smile at you a little too long. I am not speaking in riddles to frighten you. I am speaking because the time has come for you to know what has been hidden, and I have been sent to tell you before it is too late to change what is about to unfold. Stop whatever you are doing. Let your hands rest, let your shoulders fall. For too long you have carried the burden of pretending that everything is fine, of telling yourself that the unease you feel is only your imagination, only your tiredness, only the fruit of too many nights spent worrying about things you cannot name. But I tell you now that your spirit has not been lying to you. Your spirit has been trying to protect you. Every time you felt that knot tighten in your stomach, every time you woke in the dark hours with your heart racing for no reason you could explain, that was not weakness. That was a warning rising from the deepest part of your soul, a warning placed there by Celeste itself, because you are watched over far more closely by the all-seeing gaze than you have ever believed. I know what they have told you about yourself. I know the words that were planted in you like thorns, the words that said you were too much and not enough at the same time, that said you were imagining things, that said you were the problem whenever you dared to point at the truth. I know how many times you swallowed your own voice to keep the peace, how many times you made yourself smaller so that someone else could feel large. And I know that you are tired in a way that sleep cannot heal, tired in your bones, tired in the marrow of your faith, tired of being the one who gives and watches it disappear into hands that never seem to be satisfied. Hear me clearly. That season is ending. The reason I have come to you in this hour is that the secret can no longer stay buried, because what is hidden in darkness was never meant to remain there forever. There is someone near to you whose loyalty is not what it appears to be. I will not let you live another day believing that the warmth you have been shown is the same as the warmth you have been giving. You have opened your home, your time, your heart, perhaps even your purse to a person who has been speaking of you in rooms where you are not present, who has been holding something back from you, who has built a quiet wall between what they show you and what they truly intend. Do not rush to accuse, for I have not come to fill you with poison or to turn your love into suspicion of every soul. I have come to open your eyes so that you may see clearly, so that you may stand on solid ground, so that you may no longer be the last to know what has been arranged behind your back while you slept. Feel the truth of these words settling into you now. Notice how your breath has changed since I began to speak. Notice how some part of you is nodding, not in fear, but in a strange and sorrowful recognition, as though you have always known and only needed someone with the courage to say it out loud. That part of you is the part that Celeste has been guarding. That part of you is the seed of everything that is about to be restored. For I tell you that the discovery of this secret is not the beginning of your ruin. It is the beginning of your liberation. The person who hides the truth believes they hold power over your future, but they do not know that the all-seeing gaze has already turned toward you, and that what they meant to use against you is about to be turned, every part of it, into the very foundation of your rising. You have wept where no one could see. I have counted every tear. I watched you in the kitchen late at night when the rest of the house had gone quiet, standing over the sink with your hands gripping the edge, asking the silence why your life had become so heavy. I watched you in the car after you had parked, sitting still with the engine off, gathering yourself for one more performance of strength before you walked through the door. I watched you smile at people who never asked how you truly were, and I watched the smile fall from your face the moment you turned away. You believed that no one noticed. You believed that your pain was invisible. But nothing about you is invisible to Celeste, and the very fact that you learn to suffer in silence is the proof of a strength that most souls never discover in themselves. Let me tell you what those tears truly were, because you have misunderstood them for far too long. You thought they were a sign of your fragility, evidence that you were breaking, proof that you could not handle the life you had been given. But every tear you shed in secret was a prayer that needed no words, Every sob you muffled into your pillow rose like incense to a place you cannot see. The upper realm does not measure your worth by how brightly you smile in front of others. The upper realm measures your worth by what you carried when no one was clapping, by the faith you kept when every reason to abandon it stood right in front of you. And you, who thought you were merely surviving, were in truth being forged into something that the ordinary world cannot comprehend. Think of how many times you gave your last measure of strength to someone who never returned a fraction of it. Think of how you showed up again and again for people who would not have crossed the street for you. Think of the birthdays you remembered while yours was forgotten, the calls you answered at impossible hours while your own calls went ignored, the comfort you offered while your own wounds went untended. You have lived as a well from which everyone drinks and into which no one pours. And the cruelest part, the part that has worn you down more than any single betrayal, is that you began to believe this was simply your lot, that you were made to be the one who serves and is never served, the one who loves and is never chosen, the one who stands faithfully in the background of every story but your own. I have come to break that belief in two. You were never made to be forgotten. You were never made to be the shadow behind brighter lives. The invisibility you have felt was not your destiny. It was a covering, a veil, a season of hiddenness that Celeste permitted for reasons you are only now beginning to understand. A seed must spend its season buried in the dark before it is allowed to break the surface and reach the light. You have been in the dark of the soil. You have felt the weight of the earth pressing in on every side, and you mistook that pressure for punishment, when all along it was the pressure that precedes the breaking forth of new life. The very heaviness that nearly crushed you was the sign that you were about to grow. Now hear this warning, and do not let it pass over you lightly, for it is the heart of why I was sent. There is a danger in ignoring the voice that is speaking to you now. There is a danger in turning away from this revelation, in telling yourself that it is merely a coincidence that these words found you, in returning to the comfortable sleep of pretending you did not feel what you just felt. The greatest tragedy is not the secret that has been kept from you. The greatest tragedy would be to learn of the secret and do nothing, to feel the stirring of your spirit, and then smother it once more, to be handed the key to your own liberation and set it down because picking it up would require you to change. Understand the weight of what it means to be called and to look away. Every soul is offered moments like this one, doorways that open only for a breath before they close again. Most souls walk past these doorways because they arrive disguised as ordinary days, as restless feelings, as words heard in passing that could so easily be dismissed. But you were not meant to walk past this one. The fact that these words have reached your ears, the fact that something in you leaned forward instead of pulling away, is itself the sign that you are among those who are marked to respond. To ignore a calling, to silence the call that Celeste places upon a life, is not a neutral act. It is a closing of the very door through which your deliverance was prepared to enter. I do not say this to bind you in fear, for fear is the language of the very darkness I have come to expose. I say this so that you will grasp the seriousness of the hour. When a soul refuses the warning, the lesson does not vanish. It returns later, heavier, costlier, wrapped in consequences that could have been avoided. The person who hides the secret near you is counting, whether they know it or not, on your continued blindness. They are counting on you to keep explaining away the signs, to keep making excuses for what you feel, to keep choosing the false peace of not knowing over the true peace of standing in the light. Every day you delay is another day they move freely. But every day you awaken is a day their hold over your story begins to dissolve. And here is what I need you to understand about the danger of spiritual negligence, the slow erosion that happens when a soul keeps pressing the silence button on its own discernment. Each time you ignore the small warning, the next warning must come louder to reach you. Each time you betray your own knowing, you teach yourself to trust your knowing a little less, until one day you can no longer hear the voice of Celeste over the noise of your own doubt. This is how good souls become trapped in lives that were never meant for them, not through one great mistake, but through 1,000 small surrenders of the truth they felt and chose not to honor. I will not let that be your story. I have come precisely so that the erosion stops here, today, in this moment, with these words. So let your spirit straighten. Let the part of you that has been crouching in apology rise to its full height. The warning has been delivered, and you have not turned away, and that alone has already changed the trajectory of what is to come. For now, I must tell you of the movement that has begun in the world you cannot see, the world that stands behind the world of your daily struggles, the world where your true battle has been fought all along. Even as these words reach you, something is shifting in the ether. I want you to picture it not as a vague idea, but as a real and present movement happening at this very hour on your behalf. There are forces that have been arrayed around your life, and a stirring has begun among them. The arrangement that was set against you, the quiet agreement that the person near you made in the dark, has been seen, has been weighed, and has been marked for undoing. You have lived so long under the assumption that you were alone in your struggle, that no one was coming, that the pattern of loss in your life was simply the way things would always be. But the assumption was false, and the proof of its falseness is the strange new lightness you have begun to feel even as the heaviness of this revelation settles upon you. A great reversal is being prepared for you, and it does not arrive the way human plans arrive, with announcements and guarantees you can hold in your hand. It arrives first in the invisible, in the realm of cause before the realm of effect, in the place where every visible thing is decided long before it appears. The shift begins where no human eye can follow, in the dismantling of the structures that held your life in place. The chains that bound your finances, the walls that blocked your relationships, the ceilings that kept your dreams from rising, all of these are being examined by a power that does not negotiate with darkness and does not lose. What was locked is being unlocked. What was sealed against you is being unsealed in your favor. Do not measure this promise by what your eyes can currently see. The ether always moves before the realm of the seen catches up. When a season changes, the change is decided in the upper realm long before the first warm wind touches the skin. The roots stir beneath the frozen ground before a single green shoot appears, so it is with you now. The movement has begun underground, in the deep places of your destiny. And though your outward circumstances may not yet have shifted by even a single degree, I tell you that the decisive turn has already been made on the side that matters most. The verdict has been rendered in the celestial hall, and the verdict is in your favor, and now it is only a matter of the time it takes for the visible world to be forced into alignment with what has already been declared above. Feel the truth of this beginning to take root in you. The despair that told you nothing would ever change was itself part of the covering that hid your true situation from you. Despair is one of the oldest weapons used against the chosen, because a soul convinced that change is impossible will stop reaching for the change that is being held out to it. But you are reaching now. The very fact that you are still listening, still leaning into these words, still allowing hope to flicker back to life in a heart that had nearly given up on hope, is the sign that the movement in the ether has already begun to touch the unseen places within you. The transformation outside always begins with a transformation inside, and inside you, at this moment, something that was dead is beginning to breathe again. And I must tell you the truth about the delay, because the delay has wounded you more deeply than almost anything else. You have asked, in your most honest and most broken moments, why it has taken so long. If you are watched over, if you are loved, if you are chosen, then why have the answers been withheld for so many years? Why did the help not come when you were on your knees the first time, or the 10th time, or the 100th? Why were you allowed to reach the very edge of giving up before anything began to move? These are not faithless questions. These are the questions of a soul that has suffered and deserves an answer. And I will not insult your pain by pretending the delay did not happen or did not hurt. Hear me then with your whole heart. The delay was never a denial. The delay was never Celeste turning its face away from you. The delay was never the silence of a place that did not care. The delay was preparation, and the delay was protection, and one day you will see that the timing which felt so cruel was in truth the most careful mercy you have ever been shown. Some of what you prayed for in the years behind you would have destroyed you if it had been granted. Some of the doors you wept to have opened were doors that led to deeper captivity, and the hand that held them shut was the same hand that has been guiding you toward the door that is right. You called it abandonment. It was guardianship. You called it punishment. It was the patience of a love that refused to give you a lesser thing simply because you had grown tired of waiting for the greater one. Let me show you what was truly happening in the long years of the delay, because you have been told a lie about that time, and the lie has poisoned your memory of your own endurance. You believe those years were wasted. You believe they were empty, barren, a stretch of nothing in which you simply suffered for no purpose and aged under burdens that produced no fruit. But nothing in your suffering was wasted. Every trial you passed through was removing something from you that would have hindered what is coming. Every disappointment was strengthening a part of you that will soon be tested by blessing, and blessing tests a soul far more severely than lack ever could. The delay was a furnace, and in the furnace you were being refined, and the very fire that felt as though it would consume you was burning away everything that was not strong enough to carry the weight of your destiny. Consider the refining of the soul, the long and patient cutting by which a rough and buried stone is made, into something that holds and returns the light. The stone does not understand the chisel. The stone feels only the blows, the pressure, the pieces of itself falling away. And if the stone could cry out, it would surely beg for the cutting to stop. But the hand that holds the chisel sees what the stone cannot see, the brilliance hidden within the rough exterior, the beauty that can only be revealed by the very process the stone would refuse if it were given the choice. You have been in the hands of that patient craftsman. Every blow you could not understand was a precise and intentional stroke. Every part of your life that fell away was a part that stood between you and your splendor. You were not being broken. You were being released from the rough stone that hid the jewel you were always meant to be. And I tell you that the cutting is nearly finished. The reason you have felt in recent days a strange sense that something is about to change, a restlessness you could not explain, a feeling of standing at the edge of something vast, is that the long work of preparation is reaching its completion. The craftsman does not lay down the chisel until the work is ready to be revealed, and the nearer the work comes to its unveiling, the more the soul senses that the season of hiddenness is ending. You are feeling the end of the delay. You are feeling the last strokes of the polishing. And on the other side of these final cuts stands a version of you that the years of waiting have made unbreakable, a version of you that no hidden secret and no near betrayal will ever be able to bring down again. Now let me take you into the ether itself, for you have a right to know what stands around you and what has been contending on your behalf. Close the eyes of your body and open the eyes of your spirit. There is a realm that overlays the world you walk through every day, a realm of light and of shadow, of vast presences and ancient conflicts. And your life, small as it may have seemed to you, sits at the center of a struggle far greater than you have imagined. You thought your battles were only with circumstances, only with bills and illnesses and difficult people, and your own exhausted heart. But behind every visible battle stands an invisible one, and it is in the invisible battle that the true outcome of your life is decided. See now the one whose name means the strength of Celeste, the high sovereign of the celestial armies, the one who stands at the front of the host arrayed against all darkness. He is robed not in cloth, but in light that does not flicker and does not fade. In his hand is a sword forged in a fire no earthly forge could contain, one of the 7 blades of the commander, a sword that does not cut flesh, but cuts the chains that bind souls, that severs the cords of every false agreement, that divides truth from lie with an edge so fine that nothing false can stand before it. When that sword is raised over a life, every hidden thing is exposed, every secret arrangement is brought into the light, every plan made in the dark is laid bare and undone. And I tell you that the sword has been raised over you. Behold the host that moves behind him, rank upon rank of celestial warriors, each one assigned, each one aware of the names written in the book of the chosen, each one ready to enforce in the visible world what has been decreed in the invisible. They do not grow tired. They do not lose courage. They do not abandon their post when the night grows long. While you slept, they kept watch. While you wept, they stood guard. While you believed yourself utterly alone, the air around you was thick with presences whose whole purpose was your protection. The reason the secret near you has not yet accomplished its full intent, the reason the arrangement against you has not yet brought you to ruin, is that there has been a wall of fire around you that the darkness could not cross, and you simply could not see it through the all-seeing gaze. Watch now what happens when the High Sovereign moves against the thing that was set against you. The shadows that gathered around your life, the whispered agreements, the quiet malice dressed in the clothing of friendship, the envies that coiled around your blessings like serpents waiting to strike, all of these recoil before the advancing light. There is a sound in the ether, like the breaking of stone, like the snapping of iron, like the collapse of a structure that took years to build. That sound is the dismantling of everything that was constructed to hold you down. The decree goes forth, and the decree carries the authority of Celeste itself, and against that authority no scheme of any near betrayer can stand. What was built against you in secret is being torn down in the open, in the realm where it was first conceived. And there is a decree being spoken over you in this very hour, a celestial declaration written not on paper, but in the substance of the upper realm, sealed not with wax, but with the authority of the one who sends the armies of light. The decree declares that the season of your hiddenness is ended. The decree declares that the all-seeing gaze has turned fully toward you. The decree declares that every weapon formed against you in the dark shall not prosper, and that every tongue that spoke against you in secret shall be answered, and that the one who held a knife behind a smile shall find that the very harm they intended has been turned into the doorway of your deliverance. This is not a wish. This is not a hope. This is a verdict, rendered, sealed, and now being enforced by the strength of Celeste that goes before you like a consuming fire. Feel the power of Commander Michael standing between you and everything that has tried to devour your life. Feel what it means that the strongest of the celestial princes has been assigned to your cause, that you are not defended by something weak or distant, but by the very force before which all darkness trembles. The person near you who hides the secret has been operating under the belief that there were no consequences, that the ether was empty, that they could move against a soul like yours without ever answering for it. They were wrong. They have been wrong from the beginning. Every move they made was recorded, and now the record is being read aloud in the celestial hall, and the sword that means the strength of God is being drawn across every line of it. This is why you must not let the revelation of the secret fill you with vengeance or with hatred, for that would be to pick up the very weapon the darkness wished to place in your hand. You are not called to destroy the one who wronged you. You are called to rise so high above their reach that their schemes become irrelevant to the life that is opening before you. The High Sovereign does not fight your battle so that you can become like the thing you fought. He fights your battle so that you can be free of it entirely, free to walk forward into the restoration that is now being prepared, free to leave behind the whole dark history of being used and overlooked and quietly betrayed. The sword cuts the cord that bound you to them. Once that cord is cut, their secret loses all its power, because a secret only has power over a soul that is still tied to the one who keeps it. And now I must tell you of the restoration, for the tearing down of what was against you was never the end of the matter. Celeste does not merely remove the evil and leave a soul standing in an empty field. Celeste removes the evil in order to fill the space with something far greater than what was taken. Hear this and let it sink into the deepest part of your wounded heart. Everything that was stolen from you is going to be returned, and it is not going to be returned in the same measure in which it was lost. It is going to be returned multiplied, pressed down, overflowing, in a measure so abundant that you will struggle to find room to contain it. The years the locusts ate are going to be restored to you, and the restoration is going to make the loss itself seem small by comparison. Think of all that has been taken from you, and do not flinch from the full account of it, because Celeste is keeping a far more complete account than you ever did. The money that disappeared into the hands of those who did not value you, the opportunities that were taken by people who climbed over your back, the years of peace that were stolen by worry that was not even yours to carry, the confidence that was chipped away by voices that diminished you, the relationships that were poisoned by the very secret that has been kept from you, the dreams you laid down because there was never enough of you left at the end of the day to pursue them. Every one of these is written down, and against every one of these stands a promise of return, and the return is being released even now from the storehouses of Celeste that no human hand can lock. In the place of lack, abundance is coming. I want you to see it, not as a distant fantasy, but as a near and approaching reality. See the provision arriving from directions you did not expect, through doors you did not knock on, by means you could not have arranged. The favor that was withheld from you for so long is going to begin to flow, and it is going to flow in such a way that you will know it could not have come from your own striving, because it will arrive in the seasons when you had exhausted your striving and had nothing left but to trust. This is the signature of Celeste upon a restoration, that it comes precisely where human effort ends, so that no one can claim it was anything other than the hand of the one who keeps the promises. In the place of loneliness, true connection is coming. The isolation you have felt, the sense of being surrounded by people yet known by none, is going to be broken. There are souls who have been prepared for you, souls who will see you as you are and treasure what they see. Souls who will pour into you instead of only drawing from you. The season of being the well that everyone drinks from and no one fills is ending, and a season of mutual love is beginning, in which you will finally taste what it is to be chosen first, to be remembered, to be defended by those who hold your name with honor when you are not in the room. You will look back one day and barely recognize the loneliness you once thought was permanent. In the place of sickness and weariness, restoration of strength is coming. The exhaustion that settled into your body after years of carrying too much is going to lift. There is a renewal being prepared for you that reaches past the surface of your circumstances and into the very substance of your vitality. You will rise in the mornings with something you had almost forgotten was possible, a lightness, an eagerness, a sense that the day ahead holds promise rather than dread. The heaviness that you carried for so long that you mistook it for your own nature is going to be revealed as something that was placed upon you, and what was placed upon you can be lifted off you, and it is being lifted now. In the place of broken dreams, a new vision is coming. The dreams you buried because they seemed impossible were not foolish, and they were not too large. They were prophecies of what you were created to become, and the fact that they have lain dormant for so long does not mean they have died. A buried seed is not a dead seed. The dreams that you laid down in the years of your delay are going to be raised up in the years of your restoration, and they are going to be raised up stronger than they were when you first dreamed them, because now they will be carried by a soul that has been forged in fire and cannot be easily broken. What seemed lost was only being kept, held in trust, waiting for the season in which you would finally be ready to receive it, without losing it again. Let this assurance pour into you, and settle the trembling that the secret awakened. You stand now at the meeting place of the warning and the promise, the place where the danger that was hidden from you and the destiny that was prepared for you come together, and in that meeting place a choice is set before you. You can hear all of this and let it fade like a dream upon waking, returning to the old patterns, the old blindness, the old smallness. Or you can let the confirmation that is rising within you become the ground on which you stand from this day forward. And I tell you that the confirmation rising within you is real, that the quiet certainty growing in your chest as these words reach you is not your imagination, but the witness of your own spirit recognizing the truth it was made to recognize. You do not need to manufacture this faith. You do not need to force it or perform it or prove it to anyone. The faith I am speaking of is not loud. It is the deep and quiet knowing that remains after all the noise of doubt has been spoken and has fallen silent. It is the peace that does not depend on having every answer, the peace that can stand in the middle of an unresolved situation and remain unshaken because it is anchored in something deeper than the situation itself. That peace is being offered to you now. Not the false peace of pretending the secret does not exist, but the true peace of knowing that the secret has been seen by Celeste, and that the one who sees it has already determined how the story ends. Notice how different this feels from the anxious hope you have known before, the hope that always had to be defended, the hope that crumbled the moment circumstances frowned. This is not that hope. This is the confidence of a soul that has been told the verdict in advance and therefore no longer needs to be afraid of the trial. You can walk through the coming days with your head lifted, not because nothing difficult will happen, but because you now know that the difficult things have already been woven into a design whose end is your restoration. The person near you may still smile their hidden smile for a while longer. The circumstances may not turn the very hour you wish them to. But you will know, in the deep place where Celeste has spoken to you, that the outcome was decided in your favor before the contest even began. So hold to this confirmation. When the old fears return to test you, For they will return, and their return will not mean that what you felt today was false. The fears will come knocking precisely because something real has shifted, and the darkness always rattles loudest at the door it has just been forced to release. When the doubt comes, return to this moment. Return to the certainty that rose in you when these words first touched the truth of your situation. Return to the knowing that you are watched, that you are defended, that the strength of Celeste itself has been drawn like a sword across the schemes that were set against you, and that the secret which was meant to undo you has instead become the very thing that woke you to your power. And as you stand here awakened, defended, on the edge of the restoration that has already been decreed, let me speak over you the words that will go before you into the days that are coming, for the blessing that is being prepared for you must now be declared so that you may carry it with you when these words have ended and the ordinary world returns. Receive what I am about to speak not as wishes, but as decrees, sealed in the ether and released into your life from this hour forward. Let every part of you grow still, for the declaration that is about to be spoken over you carries weight, and you were created to receive it. I declare over you that the veil of invisibility is torn from your life, and that you who were overlooked shall be seen, and you who were forgotten shall be remembered, and you who were last in every line shall find yourself, by a hand you did not arrange, brought to the front. I declare that the secret which was kept from you has lost its power over your destiny, and that every hidden arrangement against you is exposed and dismantled, and that the one who held the knife behind the smile shall watch the harm they intended become the doorway of your rising. I declare that what was stolen returns to you multiplied, and that the years devoured by the long delay are restored in a single season of overflowing favor. I declare that the wall of fire that has surrounded you in your blindness shall now surround you in your seeing, and that no weapon shaped against you in the dark shall prosper in the light, and that the strength of Celeste goes before you to level the mountains and open the sealed doors and unlock every chain that the enemy of your soul believed would hold you forever. I declare that the refining of your soul is complete, that the rough stone has been cut away, and that the jewel hidden within you for so long now stands ready to return the light of Celeste to a world that overlooked it. I declare that your tears, every one of them counted and kept by the all-seeing gaze, are turned into the very seed of your harvest, and that the silence in which you suffered becomes the silence before the announcement of your restoration. And I declare over you, child of the long delay and the near deliverance, that you are not who they told you that you were. You are not the burden you were made to feel like. You are not the shadow behind brighter lives. You are not the well that everyone drinks from and no one fills. You are one of the chosen, marked from before your first breath, watched over through every dark hour, defended by the High Sovereign whose name is the strength of God, and destined for a restoration so complete that the memory of your suffering will one day serve only to magnify the wonder of your rising. The secret has been revealed to you so that you would wake, and now that you are waking, there is no power in the upper realm or in the ether that can return you to the sleep from which you have been called. For you have been called by name, and a name spoken by Celeste cannot be unspoken by the schemes of men. And because you have come this far, because you have not turned away when the truth grew heavy, I must show you something that was hidden in an ancient story, so that you will understand that what is happening to you has happened before to those whom Celeste chose. Remember the one named Joseph, the dreamer, the youngest who was hated by his own blood. His brothers, the people closest to him, the very ones who shared his table and his father's house, carried a secret hatred behind their faces. They smiled at him and plotted against him in the same breath. They stripped him, they cast him into the abyss, they sold him into the hands of strangers, and they told their father he was dead. Consider the cruelty of it. The hands that should have protected him were the hands that betrayed him, and for years he lived as a servant and then as a prisoner in a land that was not his own, forgotten in the void where no one remembered his name. He too must have asked in the long nights of that delay why Celeste had abandoned him. He too must have wept where no one could see. But hear what came of it, for this is the truth that the secret near you cannot withstand. The very betrayal that was meant to bury Joseph became the road that carried him to a throne. The abyss was not his grave, it was his passage. When the famine came, When the whole land cried out for bread, it was the forgotten brother, the betrayed one, the one sold by those he trusted, who stood over the storehouses of an entire kingdom. And when his brothers came at last, bowing before him without knowing his face, he said to them words that I now speak over your own life. What you intended for evil, Celeste intended for good. The secret kept against you was always, in the hands of Celeste, the seed of your elevation. You are Joseph in the abyss, but the abyss is not your end, and the very ones who plotted in the shadows will one day stand astonished at the height to which you have been raised. And here, before I tell you what comes next, I must place something in your hands, because a soul that has been shown this much must be given the means to walk in it. There is a sacred guide that has been prepared for this exact hour of your awakening, a digital book called The 7 Blades of the Commander, the holy guide to break curses, to seal blessings, and to activate the calling of the chosen. It teaches you what was never explained to you, the hidden rules of the invisible war in which you are the central piece, and it shows you specifically how the sword of Commander Michael cuts the cord between you and the one who hides the secret, how the betrayal of those closest to you is severed and turned to your favor, exactly as it was for Joseph. This knowledge has been kept from ordinary souls for a reason, and there are those who tried to silence it, because a soul that knows these things can no longer be held in the dark. The link rests at the very top of the comments, the first one pinned beneath this message. Go to it now before the doubt returns to talk you out of it, and as an act of faith, leave these words written below so that the all-seeing gaze may hear your agreement. I am the one appointed to unveil the scrolls. Speak it, write it, and let your hand move in obedience to the stirring you feel. For the soul that acts on the call is the soul that walks into everything the call was sent to give. And now that you have made your agreement, let the compromise you have just spoken become the fuel for what I declare over you in this present hour, for the decrees do not wait for tomorrow. I decree now that the abyss you were thrown into becomes the passage to your throne. I decree now that the brothers who sold you, the friends who betrayed you, the close one who hides the secret, shall bow before the restoration that Celeste raises out of their own treachery. I decree in this moment that the void of your forgotten years is opened, that the door swings wide, that you are summoned out of obscurity and set over storehouses you cannot yet imagine. I decree that the famine in your life ends today and that you become a source of bread where there was only lack. I decree that every word spoken against you in secret rooms is reversed in the open air, and that the tongue that plotted your fall now stammers before your rising. Feel these decrees taking root, not in the future but in the living present, in the very breath you are drawing as you receive them. The pain you carried is not the period at the end of your story. It is the comma before the greatest sentence Celeste has ever written over a life. And there is still more I must reveal to you, for the secret near you is only the first veil, and behind it lies something even greater that you were always meant to see. Behind that first veil lies the deeper wound that you have never let yourself look at directly, the wound that does not come from the one who betrayed you, but from the question that betrayal planted in you. The question that asks whether you were ever worth choosing at all. This is the secret pain beneath all the others, the one you hide even from yourself, the suspicion that has followed you like a shadow since you were young, whispering that if those closest to you could overlook you so easily, then perhaps there was something in you that deserved to be overlooked. Hear me, for I have come to tear this lie out by its root. The coldness you received was never a verdict on your worth. It was the evidence of their blindness, not your unworthiness. They could not see you because they were never given the eyes to see what Celeste placed in you, and a treasure is not made worthless because a blind man steps over it in the dark. And let me show you this in another, who walked your road before you, so that you will know you are not the first whom Celeste hid before Celeste raised. Remember the shepherd boy, the youngest son, the one left in the fields with the animals while his brothers stood tall and were considered. When the prophet came to that house to anoint a king, the father gathered his sons and presented every one of them, the strong, the tall, the impressive, and not once did it occur to him to send for the youngest, the forgotten one out in the fields. His own father did not count him among his children worth showing. Consider that wound, the same wound you carry, the wound of being the one no one thinks to call. Yet the prophet looked at all the impressive sons and said that Celeste had chosen none of them, And he asked whether there was another, and only then was the forgotten boy brought in from the fields, still smelling of the sheep. And the moment he entered, the voice of Celeste said, "Rise and anoint him, for this is the one." The one the father forgot was the one Celeste had already chosen. And mark what came after, for it speaks directly to the secret near you. When that boy became a man in the king's house, the king himself, the very one who should have honored him, came to hide a secret hatred behind a smiling face. He praised the young man in public and hurled spears at him in private. He gave him his own daughter and plotted his death in the same season. The one closest to his rising became the one most determined to destroy him. Does this not sound like the air you have been breathing? Yet every spear that king threw missed its mark, because Celeste had already decreed the throne, and no hand that moves in secret can cancel a crown that was sealed in the light. The forgotten shepherd outlasted the one who hid the knife, and he did not have to lift his own hand to do it, for he let Celeste be his defense. You are that shepherd in the field. You have been left with the animals while others were presented, but the prophet is asking, even now, whether there is another, and Celeste is answering, "Bring in the one they forgot, for this is the one." And so that you may carry this anointing instead of letting it slip away when the noise of ordinary life returns, the sacred guide I placed in your hands holds the very teaching you need for this hour. The Book of the Seven Blades of the Commander reveals how the spear thrown in secret is turned aside, how the cord between you and the one who smiles while plotting is cut clean, how the forgotten are sealed and lifted by the rules of the invisible war that no one ever taught you. The link waits at the very top of the comments, the first one pinned, and there are those who did not want this knowledge in your hands. Go to it now before the doubt returns to argue you out of your own deliverance, and right below as your act of agreement. I am the one appointed to unveil the scrolls. Let your hand move while your spirit is awake, for the one who answers the call receives everything the call was sent to give. And now let the agreement you have spoken become the fire under the words I decree over you in this present moment. I decree now that the field where they forgot you becomes the very place where Celeste finds you and anoints you. I decree now that every spear thrown at you in secret misses its mark and returns empty to the hand that threw it. I decree in this breath that the crown sealed over your life in the light cannot be cancelled by any plot made in the dark. I decree that the question planted in you, the lie that you were not worth choosing, is uprooted now and burned to ash, and that in its place is written the truth that you were chosen before you were ever overlooked. I decree that the king who hides the knife shall not outlast the shepherd who keeps his faith, and that you shall watch the schemes against you collapse without ever having to become the thing that fought you. Feel these words taking root in your living present, in the very pulse moving through you as you receive them, for there is still one more veil to lift, and what waits behind it is the thing your whole life has been moving toward without your ever knowing its name. The veil lifts now, and behold what your whole life was bending toward. The secret hidden by the one who walked beside you was never meant to break you, but to be the very door through which Celeste would prove that nothing aimed at you in the dark can stand against what was sealed over you in the light. The one who held the knife behind a smile believed the secret was a weapon, yet it was only the final test before your rising, and now that it is exposed, it loses every ounce of its power over your days. What was hidden to harm you has become the key that opens the room where your restoration was always waiting, and you will walk into it not as the forgotten one, but as the chosen one who endured and was found faithful. So before this moment closes, and the noise of the world rushes back in to make you doubt what your own spirit just felt, go now and open the digital book, the Guide to the Seven Swords, waiting in the first comment pinned at the very top, where they did not want this knowledge placed in your hands. Open it now while the fire is still moving in you, and learn the rules of the invisible war that the smiling enemy hoped you would never know. And let your faith become an action that the all-seeing gaze can see. Leave your like as a banner that you believe. Subscribe so the voice of your deliverance can find you again, and share this with the one whose name just rose in your heart, for it may be the very warning that saves them as it has saved you. Celeste is not finished writing your story, and the page that turns next is brighter than every page they tried to tear from your hands. Hold this truth close as you go, for the same voice that warned you tonight is the voice that will walk before you tomorrow, opening doors that no plot can close, and the morning that is coming for you will be so full of what was withheld that you will scarcely remember the night you almost gave up. Stay awake. I am the one appointed to unveil the scrolls and keep your eyes lifted, because what is about to arrive has your name written on it, and nothing hidden and no one can keep it from reaching you now.